Hello everybody, and welcome to day 4 of the Life Simple 7 Challenge. I hope you are enjoying the challenge so far. As you know, I am your moderator, Nikedra Brown. I am with Zing Life Services, and we are the providers for this challenge. So again, it's a simple 7 challenge. We decided to do it 7 days, 7 ways that you can live life simple. And so as you may have already could tell, it's not rocket science, right? So if you've been following along, I just want to take the opportunity just to say thank you. I don't take it lightly that you have been able to engage. I don't take it lightly that you watch the videos, that you actually step up to the challenge, that you actually do some things differently this week to get some different results. So you should give yourself a clap, a round of applause, a pat on the back. Whatever it is that you do, you need to make sure that you do that for you, because this is no small feat. Sometimes you can't find time to watch the videos. You don't know what you're going to do for the day. You don't have time to get the download. So make sure that however you are implementing this challenge, you congratulate yourself along the way. You should also have an accountability partner. We assign those on day 3. So if you don't have an accountability partner, or if you're watching this on replay or watching this later, make sure you find somebody who is aligned with what you would like to do. So find somebody who wants to meet some of these simple challenge rules, some of these simple challenge tips as well, because you want to find somebody who's motivated. Just had a conversation actually with my health educator talking about walking, and that people that she has that promise her that is going to walk sometimes back out. But those people probably aren't motivated with the same goals that you are. So if they have no motivation to improve their health, to live life simply, to lose weight, or to get just better exercise regimen, then they're probably going to find every excuse not to walk with you, right? So you have to find people who really have the same motivation, who really want to move in the same direction, and they're more likely to encourage you. So on a day you don't want to walk, they'll encourage you. On a day you want to walk, you'll motivate them, and vice versa. So make sure you're finding those accountability partners to help hold you accountable, and you hold them accountable. So if I've assigned you, or if you've assigned yourself to an accountability partner, make sure you're checking in. Make sure you're giving them tips along the way of what's working for you. Make sure that you're giving them nudges. If you know that water is one of the things that they need to work on, ask them throughout the day, how much water have you drank? You'd be surprised how much that simple nudging actually helps, okay? So if you watch day 1, 2, and 3, hopefully you're keeping up with us. You know that we have talked about activity. We've talked about how we're going to increase our activity. So you should be adding some things into your routine this week that gets your activity level up. We've talked about food. We've talked about looking at your food pyramid, your My Plate, previously known as food pyramid. We've talked about looking at food labels, how to make sure the things that you are eating is actually beneficial for you. And you should have downloaded an app. Now I need your app to have both an activity and a food portion to it. That's important. So if your app only has an activity portion to it, I need you to log in and get one that actually has food and activity. Why is that important? Because I want you to be able to see how much a simple muffin or a simple bagel or a bag of chips actually impacts all the hard work that you're doing. Once you see that, once you input that into your app, then you are less likely to let that food become a part of your routine. You will change it to something that has less of an impact in your routine. Again, we talked about calories, how many calories you should be trying to get in your daily routine. If you want to lose weight, you should be going for less than that standard. Some people actually want to gain weight, so you should be amping it up. Again, these apps typically let you put in your desired weight and your desired height, and your current height, and they will figure out for you how much you should be eating in a day. Sometimes you have to titrate that just a little bit, and that's something you'd have to talk with your health provider for. Or if you're going to move into the next challenge, Spring Clean with Zing, we're going to be doing some health assessments where we can help you figure out and tailor exactly how much your caloric intake is and should be. So for today, day 4, blood pressure. So I have my handy dandy equipment behind me. It's strategy. It is not just happenstance. I wanted you to be able to see some of the equipment that you should be familiar with. You should be familiar with this machine right here. So this machine is the automatic blood pressure machine, otherwise known as the Dynamap. And so this, for today, we're actually talking about high blood pressure. So you should be able to download the How to Manage Your High Blood Pressure tip sheet. Again, we get these tips directly from the American Heart Association because we have a strong affiliation with them. We teach and train our CPR courses and our first aid courses directly from the American Heart Association. And so it's only fitting that we continue with that alignment and we bring these tips from them to you. All right, so how to manage your blood pressure. The first thing you need to do is understand your blood pressure. So your challenge for today is to get your blood pressure checked. If you have not had your blood pressure checked in the last, I'll give you 3 months. If you've not had your blood pressure checked in the last 3 months, I need you to get your blood pressure checked today. Yes, today. So there are some blood pressure machines in pharmacies. There's some blood pressure machines maybe where you work. You may know somebody, call around and find somebody with a blood pressure machine. But this is a challenge, right? So it wouldn't be a challenge if it didn't make you do something that pressed you a little bit. Challenges press you. So if you haven't had your blood pressure checked within the last 3 months, I need you to get your blood pressure checked today, and I need you to report it to your accountability partner. Even better, put it actually in the group so that we can see what blood pressures look like. But at the very least, report it to your accountability partner what your blood pressure is. If you had it checked within, I'll give you 3 months. I really like about 6 weeks, but I'll give you a little grace for 3 months. Post it in the group, or at the very least, post it to your accountability partner. So you need to understand what your blood pressure levels mean. See if it's normal, see if it's high, see if it's low, because otherwise your provider or your nurse or nursing assistant just gives you a number and you have no idea what it means. So the top number actually measures the pressure in the arteries when the heart beats. That's called systolic. So you have a top number and a bottom number. So typically, of course, blood pressure has 2 numbers, top number and bottom number, systolic and diastolic. That systolic and diastolic is not important really for you to know. Just know there's a top number and there's a bottom number. The top number measures the pressure in the arteries when the heart beats, and the bottom number measures the pressure in the arteries when the heart is resting between beats. That's why it's so important to know your pulse, because those beats is otherwise known as your pulse rate. So there's a correlation sometimes between an elevated pulse and a shift in your blood pressure, or vice versa. So again, systolic and diastolic, that top number is going to be the measure in the arteries and the heart beats, and the bottom number is going to be the measure in the arteries where the heart is resting. Now, it is very, very important that you know what your blood pressure number is. That's why I've asked you in this challenge to figure that out today. Go somewhere and get it checked today. Know somebody who has a blood pressure machine. Ask them if you can use it. There are some places that you work, I'm sure they have access to a blood pressure machine. You may have an on-site wellness center. You may have an on-site health facility. You may actually work in a healthcare facility. So get your blood pressure checked today if you can. This on your handout actually will show you your guidelines. So you want to make sure you are in these parameters. So that's what these guidelines are for, to show you where you should be. So what you need to do is take your blood pressure measurement and then see if you're normal, elevated, stage 1, 2, or 3. That is super, super important. 1, 2, or 3. So it's very important that you not only know your numbers, but you also know where you fit in the range of normal, elevated, stage 1, 2, or 3. And that figure is going to outline where you are. So again, make sure you document that and you send it to your accountability partner, or you can feel free to post it in the group. That would be even better. It's good to have some engagement so we can see what blood pressure is doing across the board. Ideally, we would have a measure of blood pressure to see where you are now. Once you start implementing these changes over time, you should measure it. So if you can measure it at least once a week for the next 6 weeks, that would be ideal too. Sometimes depending upon what app you have, you can actually put that in your app, or you might make a note section on your phone, or just write it down, paper and pencil. But it would be ideal even after this challenge. Remember, this is a week-long challenge. If you can record your blood pressure for the once a week for the next 6 weeks, and that way, once you start implementing some of the changes that we're doing in the challenge, you should be able to see a change in your blood pressure. So that's what it's talking about in point number 2: check, change, and control. So you want to check, you want to change. How we're going to change? How do you think we're going to change blood pressure? by implementing some of these challenge tips. And then you're going to control your blood pressure. So number 3, tips for success. You want to eat smart. We've talked about eating already. Days 2 and 3. You want to get active. We talked about that in number 1. So you see how all this is adding on to each other, right? So if you're recognizing that your blood pressure is abnormal, that it's doing more than what it should, it's higher than where it should be, make sure you're implementing these daily tips into your routine. Again, they're simple. Life Simple 7. So they're simple tips just to make sure that you're staying on the right track. Manage your weight. We talked about that in day 3. So again, it's not rocket science. I hope that you'll see how it's all kind of snowballing and fitting in together. Quit smoking. For those of you who smoke, that's going to make sure you keep your blood pressure down. Why? Because the nicotine in your cigarettes increase your blood pressure, and then your body, once it wants some more, it actually makes that dependency of the nicotine makes you elevate your blood pressure. So you want to make sure that if you smoke, you quit smoking, and learn the salty 6. Your salt, as we've talked about before, makes your blood pressure go up. Lots of things with preservatives. We've had that conversation about things that are preservative, things that are fast, are going to have more salt in them. We talked about the salty 6. I introduced that earlier, but let's move quickly through it. Cold cuts and cured meat. What is cured meat? Like pepperoni. I still can't think of those Long John Slims. Those things that you can eat, that's cured meat. Cold cuts, that's your sliced meat. Pizza, soup, breads and rolls, sandwiches, and burritos and tacos. And so blood pressure is one of those things that is super important. I tell my clinicians that are working with me that vital signs are what? They are vital. I'm going to get that on a t-shirt. Vital signs are vital. You can tell a lot about what blood pressure is doing. What do you think? Why do you think when you go to your provider's office, the very first thing that they do is typically check your blood pressure? You can tell a lot about how a patient is responding, how you are feeling, what changes is going on based on your blood pressure. So it's again important that you know your numbers. So your challenge for today, if you haven't had your blood pressure checked, I really would like 6 weeks. But I'm going to give you a little grace. If you haven't had your blood pressure checked in the last 3 months, I want you to get it done today. Make that effort. Find a CVS, find a Walmart with a blood pressure cuff. Now let's also say that those are not perfect. They are typically not calibrated as often as they should be. And so there is some elevation that may be false, but it's better than nothing. It's better than you guessing, oh, I think my blood pressure is probably 120/80. It's better that you get it checked and have some value. The good thing is that if it's high, it probably is going to be high on the machine, and if it's low, it'll be low. It doesn't give you just the exact reading. Those machines aren't calibrated and they're used a lot, but some is better than none. If you have access to somebody who has a blood pressure machine, start calling around to your family, friends, put a post and say, hey, does anybody have a blood pressure machine that I can use? I want you to get that done today. I want you to press yourself, challenge yourself for this change, and let's engage and see what our blood pressures are looking like as a whole. Again, you have an accountability partner, so make sure you're checking in with your accountability partner to make sure that they are getting their blood pressure checked today, that they are reporting it to you, and that you are looking on the chart to see where they are falling as it relates to the blood pressure. If you haven't already, make sure you download your tip sheet, because this is going to be essential for you to use to follow up, to take notes, and just to keep in your list of things as a way to keep life simple. So I hope that that's been helpful for you. I hope that you continue to engage in the challenge. Again, just know we don't take it lightly. At Zing Life Services, it is our mission to improve the quality of life within the community. Basic life skills, health promotion and wellness, and self-esteem development are the hallmarks of our organizations and our programs. And we find ways to decrease barriers and inequalities as it relates to health. So that's why we're doing this challenge, because we know that people have barriers as it relates to access to health, have barriers as it relates to finances. So this was a free challenge to make sure that people were engaged. We also had access for people who didn't have Facebook or wasn't on social media. You were able to capture this on your email. We sent the videos out. So it was just so many ways that people could partake in this challenge, because we want to make sure that ultimately you challenge yourself for change. I will see you tomorrow for day 5. Don't forget to get that blood pressure checked, and I want to see those results. Have a great day. Bye.